Hello, lovely people of the world. It's me, your host, Adrienne Lauren, and you are tuned into The Thriving Artist, the show where we talk about how creatives can create flourishing careers. For today's episode, I really hope you're wearing your dancing shoes. Our guest for today is a director at the company, an urban dance team based in Daly City, California, at the Westlake School for the Performing Arts. Him and his team have performed domestically and internationally and have placed and won in competitions like Vibe and Body Rock. They pride themselves on spreading the power of purpose-based dance and look to share this with the world through teaching, performing, competing, and more. So without further ado, let's please welcome Russell Banzon.
Hey, Adrian, happy to join you.
I'm so excited to have this happen. I feel like this was fate. Like, I think it was just meant to be. Like a little over a year ago, I shared a video of the company, not knowing it was you guys on Facebook. And my cousin just commented on it and was like, yo, that's my art director. I was like, what a small world. And then now we're collaborating together to educate and empower, so we're making it in a smaller world, so that's exciting.
Super exciting, for sure.
How did you get involved with the company? What's the story behind that?
Yeah, so towards the end of high school, I was kind of thinking about like, okay, if I go to college, like I do really want to continue dancing. And so I heard about the company because they had recently placed at a number of different competitions. Bust Groove was a show from a long time ago, but Body Rock was a pretty well-known one that folks from the company had recently placed in. And I was like, man, that style is so amazing. And you could really see their unique style that was so different from everybody else's at the time. And so I decided to go to college at University of San Francisco, my alma mater. And
what were you studying?
Financial economics.
That's so different from dance.
Yeah, completely. A whole nother story is my life outside of dancing and what I do in business and things like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say this get up right now doesn't look very hip hop. Just kidding.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I hiding in a conference room at work now. Yeah, the business life is definitely much different. But the great thing is that I can always bring the creativity and the things that I learn, whether that be in leadership or team dynamics, into the workspace. What I learn in the workspace goes back into what we're doing from the business perspective at the company, things like that. But yeah, I went to school at University of San Francisco. I auditioned for the junior team of the company because we have multiple levels within our urban dance program. I auditioned for the group called APT, which was a group that goes up until 18. It stands for apprentice. And I tried out. I got denied the first time around when I was in high school, and then I finally made it the year after. Within that same year, I was also fortunate enough to make it onto the company, and this was maybe 7 or 8 years ago. So it's been a while, but I am so lucky to have been a part of it. And it's crazy because had I not made it on the APT that year, maybe I would have given up on dance in my life.
I was just gonna ask you that I was like the first time around you don't make it through. And a lot of times when people are pursuing something creative, actually even just anything in general, when they're pursuing something that they dream about, the moment you kind of get a setback like that, it's like, whoa, can I do this? I'm meant to do this. Then all these self-doubt come, right? Yeah. So in that moment for you, what was it that was able to pull you out of that and say, hey, I'm going to give this another go?
Yeah. It was really about the never give up attitude that I think I take in not only through dance, but through other aspects within life. Right. But it was just the constant inspiration that I got from the group. I was just so inspired by what the company was doing as far as like purpose-based movement in dance goes. And so I really just didn't want to give up. I continued to take classes. I took it as not making it was really just about, hey, I need to work even harder and that much harder, rather than taking it as self-doubt, like, man, I'm really not cut out for this. I really took it as inspiration to push even more than I had in the past. and overall, it was probably better for me. I always give Pat, who's one of the co-founders and our lead director on the company, I always give him crap for like, hey man, if you took me a year sooner, like I could have been that much better, or we could have developed this thing that much sooner. But it probably honestly was the best for me, because it was a push to continue to work harder and understand that nothing is going to be handed to you without hard work.
Right. And just not to take anything for granted. I feel like sometimes when things come too easy, we just, we take it for granted.
Yeah, you become complacent. And we see that within dancers, like across the community at times. But it's always important not to be complacent, to continue to push your art, continue to push your creations.
Okay, so I want to switch gears a little bit. Cool. What I'm really curious about is like the dynamics of being in a group, because you guys dance with a lot of dancers on a stage, and even though the sets are like 5, 6, sometimes 10 minutes long, it seems like not a lot, but I'm sure like the amount of work and the amount of teamwork and kind of building a whole cohesive thing. I'm trying to wrap my brain around that, because I even have struggled just with my own self and my own different personalities. I can only imagine what it's like with a whole team of people who have different personalities, different styles, different visions, and different things that they bring to the table. How do you bring that all together?
Yeah, and especially when you're dealing with a creative art, it becomes that much more challenging, right? Because everybody, for the most part on the team, we're pretty dang creative people, and so everyone has kind of their own vision of what could be beautiful, or what is the art that they want to represent. So I definitely hear you, and at times that is the challenge for us. But for us, what it's really about is coming together on a clear set of values and being on the same page about that. And I'll give you one example. One thing that we live by, and we start every rehearsal, we close every rehearsal with, is we say, never settle, always forward. It's kind of like coming together in a huddle. Some person leads it and says, never settle, and everybody responds, always forward. Having an ideal of that, or having a shared value of that, is what really enables us to continue to push forward. So we know, hey, never allow ourselves to be complacent. Always think of what is the next thing, what can we improve, and how can we be better than we were the day before. We have, so things like never settle, always forward. Another one that we use is share love, spread love, and just the importance of things like community for us, things like family for us, things like tradition, which is really, really important for the company since we've been around for 12 years. Getting everybody aligned on the same values is incredibly key, because we're dealing currently 34 on the roster. So that's a lot of people to have to coordinate. We spend hours and hours and days and weeks and months on putting together what could be a 4.5 minutes to 5-minute performance on stage. So yeah, using those values and having a North Star together is what really, really keeps us together.
It's awesome. So your journey with the company, you've evolved into having this leadership role now in the company. And what has been some of the most valuable lessons that you've learned, or that you've had to grow into as being a leader?
Yeah. The thing that I like the most, and it's actually something that I learned both through my journey with the team, with the company, as well as going out and learning from different people, is something that this guy named Keone Madrid, he's a pretty well-known choreographer. He's been featured in like Justin Bieber videos. Him and his wife, Mari, who's also a friend, went really, really far in the most recent season of World of Dance, which was on NBC. But something that he said was to be like water. And this was at a training camp that I had attended.
He said that, or did Bruce Lee say that?
Yeah, also, right? Something that he also probably lifted from Bruce Lee. But nonetheless, the message is the same. To be like water is to be relentless. Right. If something is obstructing water, typically water will just go around it.
Mm-hmm.
and it will do it it could be in a very smooth fashion, could be in a crashing fashion. Water also blends to the shape that it is within. If you put water within a cup, it is in the shape of a cup. If you put it in a bowl of water or in a bowl, then it is in the shape of a bowl. Within the company, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is to be flexible like water, to be relentless like water, and gravitate yourself towards what will generate the best benefit for the whole. And that's been really, really important for me because at times I feel like folks can be really focused on what what value they can drive for themselves.
Right.
But if you can get a collective, and not only myself, but an overall group aligned on the idea of doing what's best all the time and putting in the work that's necessary to generate what's best for the overall group, then that is where true magic can happen. And I think that's a really, really important trait for leaders now, especially within within our dance community, and actually even outside of dance, whether it's in business or other walks of life as well.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up business because now it's kind of making me want to segue into this whole notion of like, a lot of times I find creatives when they're pursuing what they're pursuing, there's this notion that this isn't a viable career or this isn't something that you could turn into a profitable business. What are your thoughts on that conversation?
Yeah, I was actually talking to Pat Cruz about this yesterday, who again is one of the founders of the group. There is an unfortunate stigma around art, especially around dance, that it isn't a viable way of life or a way to get money and to live off of. And that's mainly because we feel there's just not a whole lot of examples of people who have done it and been successful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not something that's really stable. Like if you think about becoming a doctor or you think about becoming a dentist, then oftentimes you can almost dang near guarantee yourself, if you put in the work and you get that degree and you get into the right office or the right clients, then it's very likely that you will ultimately be successful.
Right. There's a systematic path.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the way of an artist, the way of a dancer is not necessarily a system yet. But I think the good thing is that there's so many people now becoming more successful with dance and being able to prove that it is a viable career path. And the system is in a quote unquote system is now almost in place for people to see a better path to that, which is great.
I had another thing I wanted to ask you because the way I see you is you're a community builder. And a lot of creatives feel like they have to leave, go to LA, and that'll be their ticket to success. Like even here in Toronto, there's a lot of artists that think we have to leave Toronto because there's nothing here for us to really push our careers as a community builder. Well, I personally believe that shouldn't be the case. I feel like we should all be able to build this creative economy around wherever you are, and that's possible. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we've had a very similar case in that so many dancers from the Bay Area, whether that be Mari Madrid, who I mentioned earlier, or even one of our co-founders, Sean Evaristo, also went to LA as well. There's been a really long history of, man, I really need to get to LA. That's where the agencies are, and the agencies are what can get me work. But I don't think that's as much of the case anymore because, like I said, there's so much more of a path that's being built by pioneers within our community. And so you could either go the agency route, and the agency can definitely get you jobs. The beauty of an agency is that they will protect you, right? They will help inform you around what the rates should be, what your compensation should be as an overall dancer, whether that be only working a certain number of hours, whether that be teaching or performing internationally and not having to have 4 layovers and a 40-hour flight over there. Like an agency can protect you in that sense. But there's so many more people now than there were even 5 or 10 years ago that are carving paths as individuals. And as individuals, there's a number of different avenues that you can now go that didn't exist, like I said, 5 years ago, whether that be teaching domestically or internationally as a choreographer, whether that be weekly classes at different studios, or like at our school, Westlake School for the Performing Arts, or managing classes of like the younger generation, or maybe that's artist jobs, working as a choreographer or as a dancer for artists here domestically or even abroad, or even the avenue as an individual of building your own personal brand or building the brand of an overall team, which will then obviously help you as an individual. That is now an avenue that can be really, really strong and has been strong for a number of different people, whether that be building your social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, things like that, and then being able to monetize off of that brand, like having things like merchandise or being a personality and being able to get sponsored by different companies. A really, really great example of somebody who does this is a close friend of mine. Her name is Sora Yang. She's from the Bay Area. She now also lives in LA, but she does such a great job of building her own personal brand. And now she's able to monetize off of that because she has her own merchandise. She has sponsorships from people like Hyundai that she did recently. And she's also like an international choreographer who's able to teach at different camps. Just from the idea of building her own personal brand, she was able to make this a viable career path. And now, even though she graduated with a degree in marketing from USC, she's now able to do this really as a full-time job.
That must have really helped though. Having the marketing know-how, that must have really helped.
Yeah, I can imagine that definitely helped the frame of mind, but it was ultimately about her hard work. And I think if there's one takeaway that I want to pass on to anybody listening today, it's that none of this comes with hard work. How to make this a viable career, the title of the topic is like how creatives create flourishing careers. It starts not with an agency, not with building your own personal brand. Those are definitely the avenues to get there, but it starts with hard work. I was meeting a couple weeks ago with this guy named Lee J. Rizalan, who manages a pretty well-known group called the Kinjas. And he said this thing that I found very interesting that really, really applies to our case, in that work hard, put good energy out there, and the right things will come back to you. Avenues of like building a brand, using social media, things like that didn't exist not too long ago. And there's going to be so many new paths going forward. But as long as you're willing to continue at your craft, continue to push yourself to be better than you were yesterday, then the right things will come back to you in return.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's like you read my mind, because I was looking at the time and I'm looking like, okay, we got to wrap this up. I was just going to ask you, like, if there was one takeaway, and you just went away with it. So thank you for that. So to wrap things up, if people want to learn more about the company, maybe they want to take a dance class, or maybe they want to watch your show, where can they learn more?
Yeah, I definitely encourage you to do so. Start, as Pat would say, start dancing, because dancing's great. We as the company, as a collective, our choreographers and teachers, we teach domestically and internationally. So we may be coming to a city or country near you. Please, I definitely encourage you to take class. It is so much fun, and the community is such an amazing thing to be a part of. But if you're not into getting the cardio in and starting dance, then please drop by our show, Urban Paradise. We host it in the Bay Area every single year. It's located in San Mateo. It's an amazing show, and I may be biased, but it is a freaking really, really good show. I encourage you to go see it. And you can learn more and get all the information about that on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the major ones. You can find us at Company Fam, Company FAM. Find us on any of the social media platforms, and we look forward to seeing you at our show or at one of our shows or one of our classes sometime soon.
That's awesome. Just out of curiosity, like where are some cool places in the world that you guys have teach?
Yeah. Pat, again, he has been to like every country in the world. One that I went to really recently that I really, really enjoyed. I got to go to Chengdu a couple weeks ago and be able to just see the community there. There was a show going on that I got to watch called Arena that's hosted by some of my really good friends. Amazing, amazing show, amazing community, but being able to share art with people who actually didn't speak much English at all was an amazing thing because they couldn't necessarily understand all of the words that I was saying. But dance is a language that transcends our actual vocabulary and our words that we used to speak. But it's a different way of speaking, and it's really beautiful in that. So yeah, Chengdu was an amazing trip that I went to recently. I also got an amazing opportunity given to me by a friend to teach in Singapore with my friend Jason and I. That was also an amazing experience because we got to see a melting pot of different dancers, all come from different countries and congregate into one place in Singapore. So that was also another amazing time.
That's so beautiful. Like I always love stories about like unity and just people coming together doing what they love. This gives me such a warm and fuzzy feeling in my heart. I think it's a great place to end the show while I'm feeling so good. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for tuning in to The Thriving Artist, the show where we talk about how creatives can create a flourishing career. In the meanwhile, stay inspired, stay motivated, and stay on your grind because the world needs that special something that only you have. Keep creating. And I'm going to end this off with what you just taught me. Never settle.
Always forward.
Perfect. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Adrian. Bye.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.